Greetings, hello, and welcome back. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm ImperialJedi. This is episode number 2 of our series. And today's episode, we're going to be building a Diverging Diamond Interchange. And if you've never seen one of those before, totally no problem. What we can do is start ourselves off with a Diamond Interchange, which is very familiar. Maybe even made one by accident, not even realizing it. And we'll then upgrade to a Diverging Diamond, and I'll kind of show the difference in just safety and speed and like traffic flow between them both. And yeah, I've made it as easy to follow along as possible. I've gone ahead and tried this a few times on my own just to try and condense how many steps it takes. And I've made it, yeah, very easy to follow along. So if I were to show you a picture, or if you guys did, do a little Google search ahead of time, you might be a little bit intimidated, but I promise you'll be able to making them in no time. All right, before we progress, and just in case maybe building them is not up your alley, what I've done is I did upload this to the workshop. I forgot to mention that in the previous episode. So if you go back to episode 1, take a look in the description, you'll find this here in this current style. Just subscribe to the workshop link, and next time you boot your game, when you go into the main menu, just click on Content Manager. There'll be a tab for your save files, and that's how you would upload your own save files to the workshop, and then just interact with the ones you've already downloaded. So you can turn them on or off, and yeah, subscribe to the assets they have and whatnot. All right, so I just went ahead and bought myself a few more tiles here. I've got a little bit more room to work with. And I have a slight deviation from our original plan. I think instead of trying to make the DDI in here, make it, compact and stuff like that, and just jam all the intersections into this one spot, let's stretch our legs out. So let's head on over here, let's cross the river, and we'll build the DDI over in this spot. And then, yeah, instead of making this into a partial cloverleaf, what we can do is turn this into a trumpet-style interchange. And then over here, what we can have is a double crossover merging interchange, and then we can have our partial cloverleaf here. So that's basically 2 more types of interchanges: the DCMI, which will be really cool, and the trumpet, which will be really fun too. And yeah, just our partial cloverleaf here. So you guys let me know in the comments, but I kind of feel like the more we do, the better. And I have a lot of fun making interchanges too. All right, so I picked this spot here specifically just because of this little valley that's forming. So let me show you that. So just for some added fun, some added challenge, let's try and make a partially sunken highway through here. So what I want to do is just make sure that we're on our maximum brush strength. We're going to be on the large brush. Click on over on the slope terrain. I'm going to right click here just to set the terrain height. And then now when I left click and press and hold that and move on through, it just creates this little plateau valley thing. That is exactly the height I'm after. And the width of it, I'd like it to be about the size of the large brush itself. And we can always just change a little bit of it if we need to. And just to give our bridges a little bit of a helping hand here, I'm actually just going to smooth this out slightly up here. Just create, again, a little bit of a plateau. Just on both sides. It's okay if they're different heights, but just a plateau is kind of nice. All right. I also did pick this direction just so that we're not really conflicting with too many of the lines in the city itself. So you can see we're just off enough from this so you can tell we're not trying to make it parallel or anything like that. Same with this. If we're almost parallel but not quite, it really just throws off the look of the city. So we'll over-exaggerate sometimes some of the angles and curves and bends. And then this you can see right here as well. If we continue with this highway in a straight line and do a little gentle curve, it should kind of, I guess, match the flow of this. So the highway should look really cool. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to ground level with this. We're on the lowest of our slope increments as well. And I'm just running a one-way street just through our little valley. And I've run a second one right next to it with a spacing of 2 tiles in between. Now at this point, we can fix any mistakes we're making. So I've unfortunately made this, you can see, a little bit too close to the one side. No problem. What we'll do is we'll click on the road, we'll set the height right here, and let's push away what we need to. And then we'll click over here and we'll just bring this in slightly. It doesn't have to be perfect, and we are going to run some like rocks and trees and stuff through here. Just the main thing is, more or less, you want a spacing that's about the width of the large brush tool. That's okay to me. Alright, so a diamond interchange. Let's really quickly make one of those. I'm going to go up to a height of 12 meters here, so it's 4 clicks up. And I've got a spacing of 2 tiles from the main highway. And this just allows me to still upgrade and, you know, sneak some stuff in between, like a fence or some trees. And I can still just, yeah, work with the pillars really well. So let's go out by 10 units, and let's return to ground level now. And this is when I was saying that, you know, the spacing doesn't have to be exact, but more or less the width of the large brush right here kind of lets these guys line up nicely. And what we're left with is a bridge that's pretty straight. If we were die hard, we could make both sides completely even, and that would fix that little bit right there, but that's okay. Looks a little bit more natural like this. And that's, I mean, on its own is great. We don't even need any highway crossings. Like, done. End of the video, right? See you in the next one. This is awesome. But no, that's not what we're after. But do this approach, yeah, if you want just some fun crossings over your highway without having to worry about an interchange. So yeah, a simple diamond interchange is basically a 45-degree angled street leaving the main road and heading right towards your highway. And they get the name, of course, just based on the shape that they take, right? They make a diamond. Now, the problem with diamond interchanges is that they fill, like, they don't really scale very well. So they bottleneck very quickly. They actually are, like, they're very dangerous, and I'll kind of explain why. So if you're a car going straight and you want to turn right to get onto the highway, this is the easy part, right? You have your own lane. In this situation, you actually have a dedicated turning lane because we're using a two-way street here, or two-lane, one-way street here. So yeah, very safe, easy peasy. Merge on, merge, you're done. But if you want to go left onto the highway, this is where things get a little bit dangerous. So what you have to do is turn left through this junction. You have to wait for a break in traffic, and hypothetically, because we're on a 6-lane road here, this is the fastest streets you can have within the city, right? So if you're going like 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour trying to make the light make the turn left, someone's doing the same thing. They're trying to beat the light to go straight, doing 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour. If the two of you collide, that's a lot of speed between the two. And that's, you know, head-on collisions are very dangerous, right? So the diverging diamond basically reduces the number of collision points. So yeah, this backs up, bad for traffic. If you have, like, you know, your garbage trucks or like maybe a truck bringing fuel for your power plant stuck in that backlog, that's no bueno. That's how cities kind of die in this game. Traffic really is the #1 killer. All right, so what we're doing is backing everything up. We're going back to our one-way roads here. And we're going to switch over to one-way roads for building. And we're going to just kind of set ourselves up again with that same, like, you know, road over top. But instead of having a 6-lane road, we're going to do 2 one-way streets. And I'm just going to turn the road guidelines off for the moment just so we get the right spacing over top of the tiles and everything here. So that's 2 units away from the highway, and we're going to end up with a spacing of 2 tiles in between. So, my hell if I click. So there we go. And we can just double check side profile if they're nice and even, which they are. Pillars line up, which they do. Cool. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. So over by 10 units, we're going right to the blue line, and we're going back to ground level. And this very well could be a bridge going to, you know, down to here. Just make sure it's 10 units though. The last thing you need to worry about, honestly, is what direction your streets are going, so don't fret one bit about that. But this is the shape you should take. So consider this like step 1 was building the bridges. Step 2 is extending your bridges out by 10 units on each side. So this is what you should be left with. Now step 3, hopefully I can remember what step we're on when we go. We're just going to use, I can keep the one-way street. We'll connect these now up. And the reason for this is we just want these tiles, just as a little bit of a reference point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and we're going to draw our road to the end of the tile. And it looks like this is a cost of 200 credits. So we can kind of mentally do that little check, make sure we're at the same distance here. So we'll do that on each side. Perfect. So step 4, I guess we'll call this, right? So just a little, what looks like a turnaround point, but basically a circular set of streets here. And the idea, again, is just to get some more more squares. This helps with our symmetry, lining stuff up. Now we want to make sure everything is turned on, so the road guideline's back on. We're going to switch over to our 6-lane street. And we have the road guidelines because we want these guys here. Think of them like little air traffic controllers guiding us in. So we're going to follow this in, and we have complete freeform. We can see, like, you know, we have our own control over destiny here. As we get closer to the tiles, right on the outskirts of it, the game itself is actually going to take over and snap. See that right there? So that's okay. We're going to move one more in. So we're just grabbing the end of that. So basically in the middle, right at the end, that's what we're grabbing. This is where things get a little bit crazy because you have to make sure we're following to a T here. So now we're going to go out by 8 units. So let's go to the 10, back it up by 1, back it up by 2. So that's 8 units right there. So that's 640 credits. Easy peasy. We can double check the credit count again by going over top of the road once more. So construction costs 640 credits. We're left with, you can see 3 tiles in between here. Perfect, that's what we're after. Let's now redo this on the other side. So we're getting guided in, air traffic control style. We wait for this snapping to take over. We move over one more time, and then we go out by 8. So we can maybe do it backwards, right? So 5, 6, 7, 8 if we want, or we could do it this way. 8, 9, 9, and 8. I know how to count, I promise. But we're just double checking. This is 640 credits, we know that. And that's 3 tiles worth of squares in between. Cool. So as long as you look like this, A-okay. And again, don't worry about the directions. Okay, this is where things get a little bit crazy, but I promise if you go nice and slow, no problem at all. So we're gonna go back to our one-way roads. We're gonna click on the freeform. So not the curvies, but freeform. And yeah, this is definitely where things get a little crazy. So we're not going to click or anything, but we're going to go over here just so we can follow the guideline down. And we're going to stop when we get to the circle, and we're going to click here to anchor ourselves. Next thing we want to do is go up to where the tiles kind of start, sort of, maybe even that line there. Just got ourselves a second anchor point, and we're going to go over and click in here. So that's what we want, a little bit of a curved street. I promise I'm not crazy. This is very important. Don't worry. So again, nice and slow. Backing this up. Don't worry about the rest of the guidelines. Going up to about here or so. Clicking on in. Nice. Very good. So we'll do the same thing over here. And so don't get confused. It's not this street. It's not this one, but it's this guy here. So we're going down. Going up. Going over. And I honestly did this like 8 or 9 times. And I played around with like all the unit counts, all the spacing, just to make sure this was the exact spacing we need. So you gotta follow this just, yeah, as best you can. Alright, so that's what we're left with. I think this is maybe 5 or 6 steps now in, but this is where we should be at. And then next thing from here, what we're gonna do is go back to our straight line tool. And we're gonna go from here to the end of that 6-lane road. And that's a nice straight street. And what we're left with is just a little bit of a curve happening here, but a nice straight action over here. So same idea. I think you can maybe go from that, yeah. But let's just go from here just to be safe, because you never know. The game is sometimes odd like that. So that should be your next step. Everything should look like this. You get your man array without the tail right there. Maybe a F-117 kind of style too, little airplane style. So yeah, from here, what we can do is we can connect these roads down to the highway now. And that still kind of keeps that diamond shape. So you can see where the you know, the origins of the build still come from, right? And I chose this spacing because you end up with a nice straight line here that doesn't give you that weird little curve. See how that sometimes curves? It gets rid of that. So nice and straight. If we want to, we can change these directional arms. It might not make sense relative to everything else, but we want just the flow to the highway to make sense right now. That's kind of how we're going on and off the highway. But again, directional arms, we're going to double check everything at the end anyway, so I really wouldn't stress too much about that. But the point that we should be at is this. So you have your diamond shape again. We've got, you know, the 2 bridges, we got our roads kind of curving, we've got the 6 lane, we've got our little U-shaped thing here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the U, and we're going to connect these up. What I've done is just anchor myself here. I'm on the freeform tool. I've gone about halfway down or so, anchored again, and I've moved over. And because of the spacing we have between the two, we end up with a nice little bit right here. If we're either too far or too close, it makes this weird little indent and doesn't quite look nice. It's almost like you have that kind of shape happening right there. It doesn't look nice at all. And you also want to ensure that you have just enough spacing in between where the intersection points are, so that traffic can still, move pretty quickly through. Okay, so let's get rid of this. So same idea. And let's now extend these just a little bit too. Let's go out by 20, just to make it nice and even. There. Okay, so we don't need this street here. So let's get rid of that, this inner one here. And we don't need the one on the other side. But this is basically the final shape. This is it. Now we can do our final directional check, and then we can talk about the the direction and the flow. So if you're a car and you're coming from this way, and you want to get onto the highway going to the right, you see what we have here is an unnecessary set of lights and a right-hand turn. So what we'll do is go over to our junction controls, which is this guy here, traffic routes, junctions, and get off the road. But I can toggle on and off the traffic lights here. So we do not need a traffic light. Traffic light here, not one here. Perfect. So now, if your car coming in, turning right, that's you heading to the highway. You're on the highway now. Have a great day. Great drive. Buckle up. Perfect. If you want to get onto the highway going left, this is where things get crazy. So you get to this intersection here. What happens now is traffic flips the side. So you drive on the left-hand side of the road. So you wait for your light. So we'll make sure our traffic light's in here. Right, perfect. There's our traffic light. Traffic moves on over. We only have 2 lanes here, so we only need a little avenue right there. So we can change this over if you want to get some like trees or some decorations. So your 2 lanes sneaking in. Now what we're left with is traffic coming off the highway, merging at speed in the same direction as people that are already going this way. No need to wait for traffic lights, any of that kind of stuff. And then when you're leaving the highway, same idea. No need to cross in front of anyone. It reduces the collision points. You merge safely. Use your signals. In real life, you would have like lanes that would end, that kind of stuff, right? So it'd be a lot safer. It's a little bit tricky to do that in just vanilla Skylines. But if you make it all the way to episode 5, my goodness, guys, I will show you some crazy stuff you can do with the mods. So we'll just double check our streets here. And we'll do our necessary upgrades and just ensure that we have our traffic lights in place. So now when you're leaving the highway, you're not slowed down by any traffic lights. You merge, right? So if there's a bit of volume here, if the light's red, no worries. You just go on your way. We have the extra lanes here to support the extra traffic. Dedicated turning lanes here. Traffic light to make sure everyone's going safe. Enough distance in between that we should get pretty decent traffic flow. But we'll find ways to improve that later. And there we go. Just checking both sides. But that is that. Oh, I'm very happy. This turned out really well. And then as far as detailing goes, we would then put down some rocks and some trees, and yeah, here we go. Sky's the limit. But that's it. A Diverging Diamond Interchange. A lot safer, a lot faster, and they look fantastic. Alright guys, so what I'll do is I will upload this to the workshop. I will just connect these highways up as well. But take a look in the description. You can download this, and let me know what you think about the different interchanges, by the way. So next episode, if you guys give me the go-ahead for that, what we'll do is a quick trumpet build right here, and then we'll do maybe the partial cloverleaf, and then we'll save the double crossover merging interchange for maybe episode 4, and then episode 4 can be that plus traffic. I don't know. You guys let me know. We'll talk it out in the comments and throughout the videos, but I definitely think that the more interchanges we do, the better. Alright guys, happy building, all the best. I will see you in the next one, and yeah, let me know how it turns out in your own. Feel free to share some pictures too. We actually have a Discord with a City Skylines section, so you can upload your own screenshots, share and compare, make some new friends. Alright guys, all the best. I will see you again. Take care of yourselves.